Hello, everybody out there. How y'all doing? How's y'all doing? This is Jimmy J on the microphone. I appreciate Thomas Barbie. I see you sharing up and getting in this thing. If y'all could go ahead and share. Make sure this conversation is live and in full color. No, I'm not gonna talk about Port Wentworth today, y'all. I ain't gonna talk about Port Wentworth today unless y'all really want me to talk about Port Wentworth today. I ain't gonna talk about City of Savannah City Council either today. I'm gonna talk about the woods over there in Chatham County because you know what? There ain't nothing going on over there. So I'm gonna talk about where ain't nothing going on at y'all because y'all want me to go ahead and stir up gossip and talk the news. I ain't gonna talk about none of that stuff because it is what it is. And y'all understand government is doing just what government does, y'all. Government is doing what government does, and the people have spoken, the people have elected new leadership in some of these areas. And guess what? Change is gonna happen, change is gonna come, whether we like it or not. It's gonna happen. So I ask y'all to get out there and share, because we're gonna have a good, healthy discussion right here. I'm gonna talk about the good things that's going on in the good old boy system, as far as those good old boy communities, because that's what y'all want me to talk about. Y'all don't want me to talk about what's going on in Port Wentworth, Pooler, Garden City, Tybee Allen got their share of problems too. But I ain't even gonna talk about them either. So everything is shaking up and mixing up and moving well for us in this community. And I love it. I love seeing change because you know what? Change is going to bring opportunity for new people to be able to make effectuous change in our community. And so I love it. Shouts out to everybody. RG, thank you for keep checking in and watching this thing right here. I'm going to talk, but I promise you I got to let this first 5-minute clock roll down before I really start talking because I need y'all to share. We're going to talk about it is what it is, the what if scenarios, and the what if scenarios are going to affect what's going on here in Chatham County, Georgia. Chatham County, if you don't know what Chatham County is, that's Savannah. I know y'all love talking about Savannah. It's Savannah, Port Wentworth, Pooler, Garden City, Tybee Allen, Thunderbolt, unincorporated Chatham County, Bloomingdale. Those are the cities that rest right here in my favorite county, Chatham County, the southern belt line of the state of Georgia. And so it's going to be a great conversation. And I don't ever talk about Verneberg, Robert, because you know what? Verneberg ain't got but 15 people, and I can outvote them anytime. And they don't carry any wealth. They ain't got no grocery stores. They ain't got nothing but about 30, 40 houses. And I'm not going to waste my time talking about Verneberg. But yeah, it is what it is. And I really want to have focused conversation today. Y'all go out there, go ahead and share. I got 5 people on this thing right here. Please don't let me be here alone. Because my thing is, if I'm gonna be here alone, then I'm just gonna call y'all 5 people on 4-way or 5-way or 6-way, what it is, and we just have a candid conversation among ourselves. So I'm asking y'all, go out there, do everything you can, share this conversation, because this is gonna be a healthy conversation. And we got 45 seconds before we start. And you know what? If I gotta talk about Savannah, Georgia, I'll do what I gotta do just to get this whole thing rolling. Get the whole thing rolling, y'all. Shouts out Barnwell. Miss Barnwell, how you doing, Miss Lady? I appreciate you. 2 weeks in a row, Miss Barnwell has been tuning in, and we're going to turn it out right here today on this program. We got 25 seconds before we get rolling, y'all. Please share. We got 6 people watching on the microphone, and Rebecca Rose, one of my faithful ones. I appreciate you, Rebecca, for showing it, tuning in, and everything like that. Right now, Garden City look like it ain't even a city right now because we talking about Savannah, Georgia. We talking about Port Wentworth, and Garden City done fell off the map, y'all. So Rebecca, we're gonna have to bring Garden City back on the map because you know it is what it is, and we got to talk about everything going on in this community. We have hit the 5-minute mark, so it's time for me to start talking. And as I was talking about in my introduction, there are a lot of issues going on in City Council. If you did not notice, City Council did some changes, some decorations, some remodeling, some retooling as far as what goes on with the seating area. And so I guess what happened is they moved nameplates around in City Council, y'all. They took certain nameplates from one area and put it in another. And so when City Council's members walked into the courthouse today, when they walked into the courtroom today and they saw that their nameplate was not on the same place their nameplate had been on for the last 2 years now, they had some questions to ask. And so I have questions to ask. And so to educate the people out there in the world, to educate those folks out there, I have, and if I'm wrong, please somebody if I'm wrong, please somebody tell me where I'm wrong at. But what I saw was the change of guard happened. What I've always known when I looked at city council meetings, it was the mayor sitting in the middle because the mayor is the official who's pretty much the tiebreaker. And to his left and to his right, he had what you call the at-large people. That's post seat 1 at-large and post seat 2 at-large. And then it spins off District 1, one side, District 2, the other side, District 3, District 4, District 5, District 6. And so that has been, in my regards, the longest I can remember how city council. Now, I might be wrong, but I doubt it. That's how I've always viewed city council to be as far as that piece is concerned. Now, today, in the middle of the term, I think they got elected in 19, 20, 21. So this is their third year. Their third year in office today, about a month into this new year, the third year, the seating arrangements were changed, y'all. And my thing is, what I have no problem with leadership changing up changing up the positioning, changing it up a little. I think change is good. I think change is wonderful. I think change is needed to be done. I think change is something you do. But I have a problem when the changes are done, but the people who are affected by the changes weren't informed. And so what I'm gathering, what I'm hearing is the changes were done, but nobody was informed about the changes being done. And so when that happens, I have a problem with it. And so my thing is, if we truly are going to be about leadership, if we're truly going to be about effectuating change, if we're truly going to be about moving the narrative forward as far as poverty, crime, issues that really are prevalent in our community, and no, moving black people, and I'm going to just say what it is, moving black people to the outskirts of the city does not resolve crime, it moves crime. All it does is you shift crime from one area to a whole nother area. And when you move poverty from one area to another, it doesn't resolve anything either. All it does is shift the issues to another community. And sometimes you want to shift it into the unincorporated area, but then, and now I understand why Pooler says they don't want any kind of bus system, or Port Wentworth says they don't want any kind of bus system, or any other small municipality on the outskirts of Savannah says they don't want it, because what you're doing is essentially you're shifting a negative conversation to another area, and you're not trying to resolve the issue. And I hate to talk about it, but that conversation mainly affects African Americans in this community. And they take in African Americans from the Savannah core, which is the downtown area, which is anything interior of Durin Avenue, and they're shifting it out to the south side, to the outside areas, as far as the 5th district is concerned, and any other area outside the corridor. That is called shifting the weight. They're not trying to fix the problem. And you're shifting crime, and you're shifting everything else under the sun. Interesting, crime is associated with black people in St. Petersburg too. Yeah. White people and others are not committing crimes in Savannah. I guess no, I didn't say that. When I say that about crime, what I'm talking about is most of the crime that's committed and agitated in our community is being done in African American communities, and a lot of it's happening because those situations are created. So no, I did not say that black crime is only associated to black people. I'm just talking about how the narration is determined as far as crime is committed. And so when you're talking about these conversations and you're saying that you're saying poverty is being shifted, black people being shifted, crimes being shifted, it's automatically associated and grouped together. So please do not take that conversation to be that I'm saying all black people are the only people who create crime. I'm saying that the elements are being shifted, and also what's happening is when you're shifting minorities into outside of these communities don't have grocery stores. These communities don't have means of transportation. These communities don't have, so what, it becomes a harbor of crime. And let me tell you something, black, white are indifferent. When you go out to the 204 corridor, where a lot of these black people are being put out there, crime already exists in that area. That's probably one of your biggest crime areas in the state of Chatham County. And so when I say that, it is very important that we make sure we move the narrative as far as making sure we have the right elected officials up there in the city of Savannah. And so provocative move to initially evoke a response that is a hostile work environment. You know what? Now you want me to segue over to Port Wentworth. Let me tell you something, man. Port Wentworth problem is this. They have finally got a group of elected officials that do no longer want to deal with the privileged white group that's been controlling Port Wentworth for decades beyond time, and have allowed all kind of people, minorities, black, white, women, and any other segment to move into Port Wentworth. And now the narration has changed, where the government structure of Port Wentworth is looking a lot more like the people it represents. Now, we know Port Wentworth was starting to look like that a few years later, but the shift happened and you had a Republican governor, yeah, I said it, a Republican governor who didn't look at the narrative of what Port Wentworth looked like. Instead, he appointed who he thought from his good old boy system would make better decisions in those communities. And what Port Wentworth voters did was they came into that community and made the change happen to make sure the faces look like what the community looked like. And guess what? They challenged the system. They challenged status quo. So first you have an attorney in Port Wentworth that quit because I'm no longer allowed to be able to do what I want to do, and a good old boy system don't exist. So before they fire my behind, I'm going to quit. So the first thing you had was you had an attorney quit. And then next, now you have a city manager who is no longer allowed to run the government structure the way he was running it previously. Now he quits, but he don't quit on the 10th when he makes the 11th when he makes the announcement. He quits 10 days earlier and then comes and say, I quit and I'm on vacation, and did not talk to the city council that he works for. Now, my personal opinion on that right there is he better not ask for a job reference, because he won't get a job reference from me. Because instead of quitting, if he didn't agree with them, or he didn't feel that they were right by what they did, he should have negotiated with them, had a conversation with them, and said, look here, I'm going to put myself on 6 months notice. And for the next 6 months, if you hire somebody, let me help you train that person the way y'all need to train, because I can't work under y'all hostile environment. You know, I respect a man who does that. But a man who just quits on the job because they don't get their way, because the system that the people he was following didn't get their way, I don't get that, and I don't agree with that. And I think what you should have done was you owed it to the people of Port Wentworth who voted those people in office. Whether you call them bully or not, Port Wentworth voted all 7 people or all 4 people in office in this election. They voted those people in office, and you got to respect the people of Port Wentworth. You don't turn your back on Port Wentworth and say, oh, I wonder how they gonna pay their bills. I got the keys. Ha, ha, ha. The door's gonna be locked. Ha, ha, ha. That's not how you handle business. And for those employees who quit like that too, they're just as bad. Because you know why? They're just as bad because there's no reason why a person should quit a job, walk off from the job, and then come back to the building and talk cash trash from the mic inside the building after you know you done quit the job. And if you say you're on vacation, you should have remained behind on vacation, and the conversation should not have been made from City Hall. But once again, that shows a lack of courage. That shows a lack of responsibility, and that shows a lack of respect for the people in Port Wentworth. I don't care. I got people who make me mad every single day. I don't go box them in the eye, and I don't go take their car, and I don't go spit in their face because they made me mad. The only kind of people that do that kind of stuff are cowards. And we have to make sure that we're taking care of the people. You took a job. You took a responsibility. You owe it to the people to follow through to make sure the government structure does not fail. But by you quitting and not showing up, but for a press conference so you can laugh in their face, that shows coward tendencies, and I believe it at that. You know, I'm just going to call it for what it is. And yes, you used to work for the people. And guess what? I hope you don't find a job, because you know what? That's wrong what you did to the people. That's wrong. And those people who followed you is just as wrong. And I get it. You're mad. You ain't getting your way no more. You're not in charge no more. You got to start listening to a whole group of people that you don't like. I get all that. But you're supposed to stick in the job for the people and make sure a good, fair, balanced transition happens for the people. That's what being American is all about, and that's what being up and up as a right standing citizen, especially an employee of a company, is all about. But you know what? I'm gonna leave that conversation alone. So I done talked about the city of Savannah and how they play musical chairs. I done talked about Port Wentworth and how Buddy had the audacity to come there and speak dead conversation to the people who paid him his paycheck. I done talked about that too. I talk about who else we need to talk about in this conversation. Y'all got any conversation? I need to talk about sip my drink. You know, because I'm kind of upset that the fact that now that change is starting to come in our community, you know, the privileged society who used to be in charge of this community, no longer in charge of this community, are running away with their football and basketballs and their tennis balls and their hockey sticks and all that stuff like that because they mad because they can't control the game no more. You can't play with my ball. You just ain't gonna play my ball no more. Y'all don't realize black people been dealing with this kind of situations for life. We've been told we couldn't do something here. Been told we couldn't do something there. But guess what? We pressed on. We moved on. We shaped and we did what we had to do because that's what we do. We survived. And you know why we survived? Because we came from slavery. We had to survive slavery. And you know, and I talk about it, you know, people say, well, dang, James, you keep talking about that stuff. Nobody gonna let you know. I'm not calling anybody out their name. I'm just telling you what the truth is. We survived. You came up with the 13th Amendment. You said we were free. You say everything was good, but then somebody in the room wrote that second clause and said, except for when you indentured in slavery and stuff like that. And so then you came up with the slave codes, and then you came up with the black codes, and then you came up with discriminatory acts like Jim Crow, and you came up with prison reform, mass incarceration. You came up with all these concepts. Y'all came up right after y'all thought y'all said y'all gave us freedom. And so when we talk about these items, we talk about these things, you know, it's so important for us to make sure that we move the narrative forward. And so my good friend Rebecca says she want me to talk about the Supreme Court. Yeah, in reference to the Supreme Court, what specifically do you want to talk about, Rebecca? Do we want to talk about the Supreme Court where we're pushing the narrative of making sure we get the first black female in the history of these United States of America to the Supreme Court? You know, I'm glad we're working toward that narrative. It's sad that it took almost 270 years for us to get there, but I'm happy we there where we working toward making sure an African-American female is getting appointed to the Supreme Court. Now, I'm not happy with some of the decisions, and I can't talk about it because my mind ain't touched on it, what's going on with the Supreme Court, but I'm not happy how the Supreme Court is actually working in the narrative of some of the local decisions they had, namely what Rebecca just told me, racial gerrymandering, where gerrymandering is going on in Alabama, and they tried to fix it, and then the Supreme Court overruled it. And I think it was a 6-3 decision, it's either 6-3 or 7-2 decision as far as letting that piece stand with racial gerrymandering is going on in the community. But one thing I got to give Alabama, at least they fighting, because it seems like the people in Georgia don't want to stand up and fight. We happy and content with having 2 U.S. senators and a president, and we ain't trying to fight all this the narrative that's going on throughout all these counties and all these other areas in our community. And yes, Rose McGuire, I hope Clarence Thomas does retire from the Supreme Court. And Rose McGuire, I hope y'all find a place outside of Georgia for him to retire, because that man ain't did absolutely positively nothing for us as African Americans, and it was a shame that he was the one who was put in place to replace the strong guard Thurgood Marshall, who was probably one of the best civil rights attorneys in his era. And it's sad that we chose Clarence Thomas, but see, I probably wasn't old enough to vote when all that went down. And I know that Clarence Thomas is probably up for election, and it's so important for us to make sure that we keep a Democratic president in office in 2024. Yes, I'm 2 years ahead of everybody because I'm not going to sit here and wait for 2024 to happen. I'm going to talk about it and profess it right now. It's so important that we make sure we have a Democratic president in office in 2024, because I think that's going to be the president that's going to make the determination of who replaces Clarence Thomas, because Clarence Thomas ain't got but a couple of years left in his life. So with that being said, that being spoken, y'all give me some more topics, man. I really want to talk about local issues. I'm about to bring. I can't tell you this. I got some people that's getting ready to come on this show. I got some people. I'm working on some people to come on this show that's going to for sure talk about black male voting rights. I'm going to bring people who are going to talk about how the school systems have not been doing well for us across the state of Georgia and has failed us tremendously. I'm going to talk about issues with regards to the school system. Are we going to end up maskless based on our governor? Governor's going to make it mandatory where you ain't got to wear masks no more. So how hard are we going to fight? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't give a dang what the governor say, unless Jesus Christ himself come to me and tell me, Johannes got to take that mask. Johannes will be wearing that mask every single day until school is out. And that's just reality. That's how we're going to live. And I'm daring a teacher to tell them to take that mask off, because you know what? Until this year is out, we're going to be masked up, vaccine ready, and everything under the sun, because we don't understand how these environments work. And it's so important for us to make sure we protect our kids, we protect our family, we protect our friends. And I don't care what a governor got to say, because the governor don't pay my bills in my house. And so guess what? Until he start paying the bills in his house, he don't have no rule in what goes on in his house. And so if they make the mask mandatory go away, you're not going to make me tell my child not to wear a mask. He will wear a mask in the class just until the end of the year. And then we'll make that determination then about whether we're going to wear a mask moving forward. And so that's what I got to say about y'all governor, Governor Kemp, because my thing is this. We don't know if this thing may make a curve. We don't know. We thought we was out the blue when the Delta variant was done, and then Omicron came out of nowhere and beat us down badly. And so guess what? We need to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to get this governor out of office. I know he trying to do all his little tricks. He gave $1,000 to the teacher, gave $1,000 to this person. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. He did all that right there. But guess what? Y'all take that $1,000, deposit it in your bank, and make sure when it comes time to vote, make sure he's not get back in office, because he's not done anything for us in the state of Georgia, but created more havoc, more pain. And he's probably trying to take credit for everything that Biden has done out of the Oval Office and all of what our local people have done for us as well. And so it's so important for us to make sure we move the narrative forward and make this happen. Yes, ma'am. Bio 101. Viruses are smarter than humans. And yes, ma'am. Viruses understand how to recode itself, how to morph, how to change that last change agent link on the end of that DNA RNA. And guess what? And all of a sudden, we are sick again. And so guess what? We need to make sure we stay focused. I saw a report saying that COVID rates were dropping in Chatham County. And yes, sir, COVID rates are dropping not just in Chatham County. They're dropping all over the state of Georgia. Thank God, because we are all wearing our masks. We are all getting our shots. We are all wearing our masks. I think I'm glad to see that we dropped down the age bracket down to 5 years old where we can get the vaccine. I think is prevalent. I made sure my child got his vaccine. We make sure he keep him safe and healthy and everything like that. It's so important that we work toward making sure our narratives stay up to date and above water. Yes, Ivan, I saw that. Rebecca Kemp is also making teachers' jobs much harder, and you're absolutely right. There's y'all don't hear it, and they do a great job covering it up. There is a teacher shortage in Chatham County, y'all. There is a teacher shortage in Chatham County. You can ride around and look at the car ride lines. You can ride around and look at the substitutes. I got about 10, 15 friends who are substitutes in Chatham County, and guess what? They've been working like it ain't no tomorrow the last couple of weeks. So there is a severe teacher shortage in Chatham County. They're not talking about it. Why aren't they talking about it? Because you know what? That's what they do. When they're in charge, they want to make sure anything that's going to create panic, havoc, or pain, they want to make sure they stay ahead of it, stay on top of it to ensure that they don't look bad. Now, when we get in office, guess what? Everything they let loose. They let it all out, let it all out in the garden and sun. And that allows them. Is nothing wrong with being a failure as long as we're looking at the failures and we're correcting those problems. There's nothing wrong with it. COVID cases have dropped until spring break. I don't think spring break is going to be a big thing because I think the kids still are going to be inside the house or they'll be outside playing somewhere. But I don't think that congregations are going to actually move into the narrative. I think spring break also has Easter, I believe, this year. And so I know we're not going to do much outside of working the narrative is concerned. But we need to stay on top of that. Substitute teachers should be paid more. I agree with you, Rose. But how do we make that happen? That's a state of Chatham thing. That's a board of education thing. And my thing is maybe we need to have some conversation with some of these people who want to run for school board president. Because from what I gathered, locally speaking, you got 4 people on the ballot. And I don't know why the first one's back on the ballot. But, I respect him. I love him. He's a good friend of mine, Joe Buck. Joe Buck is back on the ballot at 80 years old. I don't think that he really wants to be there, but I think he's being held hostage. I think the chamber probably has something to do with it. But I just joined the chamber from the party spectrum, and I joined the chamber from another organization. So I ain't gonna talk too bad about the chamber today. But I talked about the chamber last week as far as making sure we move toward being a part of the chamber because economics comes out of that chamber. And if we want to see true economics come to the black community, we need to involve ourselves with the economic structure that is in charge of charge of economics, and that is the chamber. So if you want to see change happen in the black community when it comes to black organization, black businesses and everything like that, we need to be involved in the chamber. That was last week's message. I'm not going to go no further. But you have that. You have Ty Whiteley, who ran last time. You have Todd Rhodes, who is an up-and-coming. He got 10 kids in the school system. He feels that he's got the best mode of conversation because he's got graduates all the way down to kindergarten. And so he feels that he's the best mode. And then the last person is Roger Moss. And Roger Moss, I guess his claim to fame with the schools is he started Savannah Classical and he tried to start other schools in his community. And the board blocked him on it. So I guess I'm looking at my best way of making sure I make it happen is I'll be the chair and they can't block it no more. I mean, maybe that's a conversation, maybe it's not. But it's a lot of money that's going to be thrown around to between Joe Buck and Roger Moss and the two candidates, Whiteley, Taisha Whiteley and Todd Rhodes are going to be your candidates. They're going to really get into the community, get into the grind to make sure that narrative happens as far as pulling those grassroots people. You're starting to see people get registered to vote. I think you see a strong registered to vote campaign come from them too, and all kind of other stuff like that to move the narrative forward. Now, I want to remind y'all, 4 years ago in that election cycle, 18% of the voting population participated in the school board election 4 years ago. So 18% determined the school board and who was the manager of the 51% of the budget that goes within the county structure. So I do hope y'all understand those numerics I just dropped. I'll say it again because the person in the back room didn't catch it. 18%. I know y'all don't want to hear these numbers because it's boring as hell. I get it. 18% of the voting population, 18% of 160,000 people, 18% showed up to the polls. Most of that was older people, and most of that was older people and from the black community and from the white community who would not traditionally have kids in their household. So mind you, the people who chose the school board advocates, the people who chose the leadership for the school board were people who don't have kids in their household. So I wanted, and Ramona, I said the same thing. 18, 1-8, not 20%, less than 20%, less than a fifth of the voting population showed up to the polls in 2018 and voted for the school board elected officials. Now, what else is on that ballot? I'm going to tell y'all, all of us have gotten a ticket in the last 5-10 years, whether it be a parking ticket, whether it be a speeding ticket, whether it be some kind of ticket within the confines of Chatham County. And all of y'all have gone to Recorder's Court. And I can tell you straight up, there are more black people that go through the Recorder's Court than anybody else. There's more black people go through that Recorder's Court. And so our good friend Tammy Stokes is moving up the land. She's moving up the Chatham. She's going up to the Superior Court seat. And with her moving to the Superior Court seat, there are 3 people vying to replace her on the Recorder Court. So there are 3 people vying to replace her on the Recorder Court. I'm not going to say one of the person's name because you know what? When I call him trying to help him out, guess what he did? He didn't want to be talked to. He didn't want to be talked to. So I'm not going to call his name. I'm not going to call his name. Matter of fact, I'm not going to call the other 2 names either because you know what? I need to have a conversation with the other 2 before I call the names out. Maybe I'll invite the other 2 onto the show next week so we can have a candid conversation between them 2, myself, and the community out here at large. If that's something y'all want to see, please let me know. Please link me in and let me know. But that conversation is very important because, see, my thing is I'm teaching. This is a teaching moment. I know y'all don't want to hear this information. I know y'all don't want to hear this conversation. But this is a teaching moment. And this is a teaching moment I'm about to give you. You see, this race is bigger than just them 3 people running for office. This race is to determine who is going to be the lead judge come 2024, 2026. See, let me tell y'all something. There's 3 Recorder Court judges. The other 2 are up in age, and they may not run again in 2024. And I believe Claire Williams, Judge Williams, once Tammy is out of her seat and a new election happens come January of 2023, Claire Williams will be determined as the senior judge or the lead judge. That lead judge is very, 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 very important, y'all, especially my black people out there. That judge position is very, very important because that judgeship makes a lot of decisions of things that go on in our community. Now, if Claire decides not to run in 24, if Judge, Judge Odell decides not to run in 2024, then that person who we elect in 2022 can become the lead judge. That's why it's so important for us to have conversation with the 3 people who are running for office, running for judgeships, because those judgeships affect us with Recorder Court's judge. And that Recorder Court judgeship, they deal with those tickets that we deal with all the time. Those minor infractions that we deal with all the time, those Recorder Court judges deal with those things. And that's why it's so important for us to make sure we put the right person in that seat. I ain't going to talk about it this week. I'll talk about who we need to be talking about. And I might throw hints if you read through the lines supporting who I might be supporting. And so with that being said, I'm moving to the next thing. So I talked about the school board. I talked about the judgeships. The Superior Court judge probably have a whole bunch of Superior Court judges that run unopposed. I'm tired of arguing about that conversation, about the unopposed conversation until you blue in face. I'm just happy that Tammy has moved. She's taken her talents to the bigger, the hilltop in the sky. I'm so glad that she's moving on up. So the next piece that I want to talk about, so I done talked about the school board, I talked about the judges, I want to talk about the Board of Elections. The Board of Elections is made up of 5 people. Those 5 people are 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Those 4 people get together and they choose on who they want to be the chair. And so my thing was this. In 2021, I'm going to rewind it. 2018, we were disappointed by who became the governor of this state of Georgia. But at the same time, when we were disappointed about who became the governor, we should have also been disappointed at who became the Board of Elections chair. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask y'all to go back to the records and look and see who put this guy, Thomas Mahoney, into the position as being the chair. Now, it wasn't none of my friends that said he didn't need to go there. I will say that. The Board of Elections is the most important position in Chatham County when it comes to election races is concerned. Because you know why? The Board of Elections determines who gets to stay on the ballot, who doesn't get to stay on the ballot. It determines how many precincts we need to have. It determines where we need to put more precincts at. It determines it also determines who is the Board of Elections supervisor. These things are important because if we have the wrong Board of Elections supervisor, we have the wrong polling situations and structures, we don't get democracy in our polling and what we do when it comes to voting in elections. And it's so important for us to make sure that these Board of Election seats are protected. I will say it again because I know somebody in the back room didn't catch this conversation. When I tell you this, those Board of Election seats are very, very important, and they are county-wide seats. Those people run county-wide. They don't run in the district. They don't run in Savannah. They don't run in Port Wentworth. They run county-wide. They have to affect all those areas me and Robert were debating against early in this conversation. It is so important that we make sure that we have the right two people representing us on the Democratic side. And for those Republicans, y'all have the right people representing on the Republican side. And it's so important that those four people get together to have somebody that's going to be speaking up for the people. And as a bonus, and I'm going to tell you right now, this bonus is going to determine if I'm going to plan on running in office for 2024. Yes, I'm not running for office in 22. But if I plan on running in office in 24, this will determine what I run for in 2024 as far as election is concerned. And that is, yeah, I know trouble coming, but I'm trying to go ahead and give y'all the quiet before the storms, Ramona. That is, I will tell you this, if the Board of Election comes into a dead heat on somebody, it's a 2-2 draw on somebody, that will be pushed up to the county commission. And the county commission can be the determining factor at who is the chair for the Board of Elections. Now, if the county commission puts the same person back in office for a third time, then y'all already understand. I will put my declaration of intent to run for chair again in 2024. Y'all can take that to the Bible. Y'all can take that to the book, and y'all can take that to Congress. I promise you, if that is right, if the wrong person gets up in office and it's because of the county commission, this ain't no threat. This is a promise. I will run for Chatham County Commission chair, because you know what? That means that that person was not doing what they were supposed to be doing as far as protecting the democracy. We have an opportunity to fix the Board of Elections, y'all. I'm going to say it again. We got the opportunity to fix the Board of Elections. It's upon us to make sure we put the pieces together to fix the Board of Elections. And I'm telling you, way ahead of time. It is determined by who we put on the Board of Elections. On the Democratic ballot, there'll be 2 people. On the Republican ballot, there'll be 2 people. Depending on who we put on the Board of Elections, it will determine how things move in this community. We have already had a couple of Board of Elections members in the last 2 or 3 years resign, quit, have to reappoint it, run people over with their cars, do all kind of crazy things come from the Board of Elections. And so guess what? It is so important. And I have, and y'all can go ahead and say it. I said it. I have plans to make sure I talk to the Republican leadership about how they're going to choose their Board of Election members. And I'm going to have a conversation about how I'm going to choose, make sure the Democratic Party chooses its Board of Election members, because that is a conversation that is important for this community, because I believe that we have been severely shorted in the Board of Elections. And it's so important for us to make sure we have the 4 right people up there to make the determining factor of who's going to be the chair for the Board of Elections. And so if we as a community have to make that call, then guess what? We'll do that. Now, mind you, I will also be talking to the state legislature who will be put in office in 2023. And on the top of my agenda will be to take the Board of Election seats away from the general body people and put it back into the party structures, so we can make sure that we're having good, solid people run for those seats. Because for some reason, ever since we shifted this to the early races, we have not had the quality people that we need to have in those positions. And so my thing is, people may not like me for my comments or what I got to say, but I think that that's something that needs to shift back into the hands of the parties. If the parties are truly involved in that piece, I think that we can have better leadership when it comes to Board of Elections. And I'm going to leave that conversation alone. And so I'm 20 minutes before I got to shut my mouth. And yes, Board of Elections, once again, is in trouble. But I can say with this new guy, and I'll give his name, Billy has done a better job than in previous years that I've had. He's done a better job of communicating with people in the public. He's done a better job of making sure his Board of Election members have been getting information they need to do, making sure that their training is being done, making sure that people who are supposed to file their declaration of intents, and people who are supposed to make sure they pay their monthly or report, do their monthly reporting. I think I've seen a whole lot better assessment come from this new administration this year right here. So shouts out to Mr. Billy. I appreciate everything you're doing. Appreciate you communicating with me and other people out there in the communication world, making sure that we all understand and know how important the Board of Election truly is to this community. And so I done talked about Board of Election. I done talked about what else? A Board of Elections. I talked about school board. I talked about judges. Now I'm getting to the nitty gritty, y'all. I got 20 minutes left. I got 19 minutes left. I'm getting to the nitty gritty. The nitty gritty is you got your state seats up for election. Your state seats up for election. In Chatham County, you got 6 seats. You got 6 rep seats and you got 3 state Senate seats. Now, I will tell you, them Republicans are sneaky. What they did over the last year was they brought into Chatham County a 3rd state senator. Now, mind you, he probably got 5,000 people in his district, but he's here to represent the 300,000 plus people. And so, you know what, man, it was a sneaky move, but you know what, touche. You in charge, you do what you do. But my thing is, my goal is to make sure we talk to those areas that are also part of his community, and we bring them in. We have a conversation to make sure if he's going to represent us, he's going to represent us. He's not going to represent the 300,000 people down here without giving us some true representation. And I bet you $100 to a bucket of crap that none of those people he represents right now know that he only represents 5,000 of the 300,000 people in Chatham County. I would say that again because y'all didn't hear me the first time. He represents about 5,000 of the 300,000 people here in Chatham County. Yes, we have a new state senator in Chatham County, and it must be told and must be put out there. His name is Mr. Hickman, Billy Hickman. He represents Statesboro, and then he flies his way on through all the way down to Chatham County. And so he's got a small piece of the pie in Chatham County, and he is representing no more than about 6,000 people in Chatham County. Now, we still got Ben Watson to his left, and we got Lester Jackson in the Senate Corps, which majority represents city of Savannah, Georgia, and a little bit of Garden City and some other parts. But I say this to have this conversation that we have to make sure that we're paying close attention to how the politics rules. I will also tell you, they were smart. You know, little kid that do this right here, they were smart. You know what they were smart about doing? They were smart because they also brought 2 state reps into either Effingham or Bryan County on the border of Chatham County, because you know what they're trying to do? They already understand in 2030, what they want to do is bring 2 more state reps into Chatham County, and they slowly maneuver them all the way down to the border of Chatham County. And yes, they're in Bryan County now, and yes, they're in Liberty County and Effingham County, and they couldn't put them in Chatham County because you know what? We would have raised all kind of hell if they were to try to sneak them into our county. And so I just want them to understand and know, I see that their plans in 2030 is to bring in 2 more state reps, where we will have 8 state reps and have 3 state senators. And it's so important for us to make sure we have that conversation. And Rose McGuire, I can't tell you why Lester ain't running. Lester says he's on to bigger and better pastures, and he feels that he is qualified and duly ready to make sure he makes a run for labor commissioner. And all I can do is applaud that brother and make sure that I support him from a distance, from afar. My big brother, Bernard Brown, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you jumping in here. So back to my conversation. So we have 6 seats that's open up in Chatham County. 2 seats. We have incumbent Democrats, Edna Jackson and Carl Gilliard. They're gonna be running again for their seats. I doubt I doubt if any opposition comes their way. So we pretty much guaranteed that they're getting that seat. And then right now, currently speaking, you got Bill Hitchens and you got Jesse Petraeus. Both of them. Jesse had opposition last time. I mean, hopefully he can have opposition this time. Bill Hitchens did not have opposition last time. Hopefully we can get somebody to step up and run against Bill Hitchens. And so those are the 4 right now at this moment who have nobody running against them. And then you have contested races in the 163, which Derek Milo, he abandoned the seat and he's moving upward to pastures. He's running for Leicester seat against Orlando Scott. And then what's he missing? The 163, his old seat, is being challenged by Ann Allen Westbrook, but he beat by 19 points 2 years ago. And Wesleyan Bowers is challenging and Isla Westbrook. And I have heard that a third challenger may jump into that race. And so that race might get interested itself. So let's keep our eyes on that race. And that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the 6 races we got going on the state level. And as far as Ben Watson and Hickman, Mr. Hickman, I think that we need to find opposition for them too. I pray to God that the DPG does everything it possibly can to make sure we have opposition for them guys, because it's so important that everybody who is not speaking the narrative of my people get challenged. And so I'm going to lead that conversation at that. So we've talked about the state seats. We talked about the Board of Elections. I'm going to talk about this stuff until I'm blue in the face, because come March the 12th, that's when we'll know who is going to be on the ballot. And Rose McGuire said it earlier, Derek Milo and Orlando Scott are the 2 people running for Lester Jackson's seat, the second seat in the state Senate. That's Orlando Scott and Derek Milo. They're both running for Senate seat number 2. It's so important for me to keep having this conversation. So my good friends, if I need to share more information about these people, these platforms and everything like that, please let me know, because I have no problem sharing those conversations. It's so important for us to make sure we're having these candid conversations. Oh, it's one thing that I did not talk about. Let's talk about the big seat right here in Chatham County. So we already understand the federal seat. On the federal seat, let's go ahead and first talk about Reverend Raphael Warnock is running for his seat again. This time he's running for his full term. 2 years ago, he ran to finish an unexpired term. This time he's running for a full term. He does have 2 or 3 people that probably will challenge him in the opposition race. I really don't want to talk about them people until March, because my thing is, when it comes to those federal races, we really should not have a conversation from certain platforms about those federal races. But I will have that conversation when we get closer to that day in March. However, I will talk about the 1st Congressional District. The 1st Congressional District, which has a representative, not my buddy Carter, in that seat. Not my buddy Carter he's found hope with 4 new challengers. 4 new challengers have stepped up to the plate as far as running against not my buddy Carter. Now, I'm going to go in order based on who called me and who spoke to me first. I'm not going to go in order who filed the FEC form. I'm not going to go in order who's the incumbent. I'm not going to go in order of anything else about who contacted me first or who spoke to me first in order to who spoke to me last, as far as with regards to anything else. If I talk about FEC form, 90% of the people in this call don't even understand what FEC is or what it means. So I'm going to speak to who spoke to Jay Jones first, because I appreciate persons coming to me, making sure they declare and say, this is the person, this is what I want to do. And so the first person who came to me was Joyce Griggs. Joyce Griggs came to me first. She came to me last year sometime. I want to say right after the election, she came to me sometime. And then the next person who came to me was Joey Palomino. Joey Palomino came to me next. As far as that's concerned, I'm trying my hardest to make sure I be as quiet as possible without getting any clues. And then the next person who came to me was Wade Herron. And Wade Herron was the third person who came to me. And the fourth person who came to me was Michelle Monroe. Michelle Monroe got into the race a couple of weeks ago, and she's already hitting the floor running. I have seen her mix up in 2 or 3 campaigns. Wade Herron, I have heard him being in certain areas out there in the world, and he's making moves. Joyce Griggs, I have seen signs pop up everywhere under the sun. And Joey Palomino, I just want you to make sure you take care of that little one of mine, because that little one is the most important thing in your heart, in your house, and your mind. And so let's make sure we keep taking care of that son of yours so you can get on the campaign trail rolling. Now, all these candidates, the first 3 candidates, all have websites. If you want to learn more about Joyce Griggs, Wade Herron, or Michelle Monroe, all 3 of them have websites. Joey Palomino does have a Facebook page. If you just put his name into Facebook, it will show up. It will show up, and you can be able to follow him and see what he's got going on. And so it's so important for us to make sure we start making our determination, looking at these 4 candidates. There will be tons of forums. I guarantee it. Tons of forums will be done. I'm sure Better Savannah, ATR, also WSAV, WTOC, any other news station, radio station, anything in the world. It will be putting out the information as far as who's the best candidate. If a person is good enough to lead in the military, certainly she is capable of leadership in peacetime. And I don't debate that. And as far as I'm concerned, both ladies served in the military, so I don't know who you're trying to support or push or put out the agenda. I can say Wade also has led in his capacity as far as being an attorney. And so I'm not going to go out there and put any messages out there. What I ask you and encourage you to do is visit all 3 websites. And if you get a chance, also make sure if you got on Facebook, social media, make sure you pay attention to what Joey Palomino is doing as well. But but I will tell you this: on May 24th, one of the 4 people will be elected and will be postured into running against not my buddy Carter. And so what we need to do is make sure we're, as a community, collectively, we as a community are going out there and doing everything we possibly can to make sure we vet all these candidates that I spoke on, from the judges, from the Board of Education to the judges, Board of Education to Board of Elections, all the way out to our federal seats. We need to make sure we vetting them, because the only way we're going to change the narrative is if we put good people, solid people in those communities. It's spelled Palomino. You gonna give me spelling that main name wrong, man. If you put it, you put in Joseph and Palomino, I think it's Pamillo. You gonna get me lying to say it, but I'm sure if you put in Joey Palomino, even if you spell it wrong and you put it in a Google search and you put that for Congressional Congress, it will come up right. So I mean, and I hate to have that conversation about not spelling Joey's name right. I see his name all the time. And off air, Ivan, I'll go ahead and text it to you. That way you'll have it for your record. So with that being said, are there and no, Griggs has never held state office. So with that being said, I'm here to entertain any questions, any comments, any discussion moving forward. And appreciate it. Rebecca Rose just put it in Palimeno. Palimeno, Palomino. And so I entertain any kind of other questions, discussions. Appreciate you, Rebecca, for saving me, because it's so important for us to make sure that when we go to the polls, we make sure the people we're voting for are the people we need to put in office. Oh yeah, and any other discussion we need to put out there, please let me know. We got about 4 minutes left in this conversation. I appreciate y'all for hanging into this conversation, making sure this conversation flows and rolls and everything like that. Like I said, starting February, we're going to start bringing guests on the show, because what we want to do is we want to make sure. I know we had Keisha Gibson Carter on there 2 or 3 weeks ago, but we're going to start bringing guests, statewide guests, and we're going to have candid conversation about what's going on in our community in the state of Georgia. I got the Black Voters Project. He's going to come on here. He gave me a date that he's going to come up here. I got another young man who's running for state school superintendent. I've been blessed to be in his face and his favor. He's getting ready to come on this show. We're going to bring some local people on the show as well. It's time to move on, move out. I said January. I want to shake off the cobwebs in February. I want to get my voice loud and proud, and I want to get my preacher voice back out there, because it's so important that we make sure we have healthy dialogue, healthy discussion. I don't want repetitive discussion that's on my platform, that's on everybody's platform across the sun. I want healthy conversation. I want healthy conversation. And what is your take on Governor Kemp signing the gun law bill? You know what that's all about. They trying to do everything they can to get that privileged group of people to stay in control. It's taking care of your base, man. It's taking care of your base. But all that means is, guess what? That means people like me get to carry my gun too. And I get that. I don't have to have all the other requirement as well. And so my thing is, but the problem is, it makes it easier for people who have felonies, who carry guns who should not carry guns, or people who are in society who should not carry guns. It makes it easy and prevalent for them to be able to do the same. And so that's the downfall effect to it. But what it was it was a political move. It was a base move. It was to protect his base, as far as that's concerned, without looking at the consequences or repercussions behind it. And so my thing is, we got to be cautious of what we do. But that's on who? That's on us. We need to wake up and make sure we change and flip the narrative of what's going on in the state house, state senate, so we can make sure that when we deliver on the governor, when we replace Kemp, out of the governor seat, we have the right people all the way down the ballot to make sure we move narrative forward. And so a lot of times, a lot of people, like they said in Port Wentworth, I got told, said, it's not right, it's not fair, it's not this, it's not that within Port Wentworth structure. But we're not looking at the fact that, guess what? Now we got a structure. Then when Biden gives out money, now you got a political structure locally that can take that money and put it in the right community. Where in the past, they would take that money and put it in the wrong community. And so I think that all politics starts local and it matriculates all the way up the ballot. And it's so important that we make sure we push those narratives forward. And so with that being said, that being focused, I got 2 minutes left, y'all. I'm reading these questions. The position she held in the military makes her overqualified. She should be ready for anything. I guess I'm taking it you was a heavy supporter of one of the candidates, and I'm not going to pick out and say which candidate you may be a supporter of, because I got to, due to the dialect, I'm going to keep my comments to myself until after March the 12th. When I see who is solid and on the ballot, that's when I make my commentary as far as the goods and bads about individuals. And I promise you, I got plenty of conversation about good and bads for everybody all the way down and up the ballot. And my thing is, I'm not going to just say the goods and bads. I'm going to bring them onto the show to challenge me as far as whether that's good or bad or indifferent when it comes to those people. And so with that being said, I got 1 minute left, 60 seconds left. It is what it is. The what ifs has not dissipated, has not gone away, but the what ifs will be coming back next week. But I just wanted to run my mouth today and make sure we had some good conversation, because guess what's happening? Change is happening in our community here in Chatham County, y'all. Change is happening in Port Wentworth. Change is happening in Port Wentworth. Change is happening in the city of Savannah. Change is getting to happen in Chatham County. Change is happening all across the board. And it all started with 2020's elections, not just on the federal side, but in all the sides across the county, across all these municipalities, and all across the whole country. It's going to effectuate change, and it's time for leaders to step up and make the change happen. So with that being said, that being focused, I'm getting ready to tell my producer, because I only got 20 seconds left, I'm getting ready to tell my producer, go ahead and be ready to close us out, because it's time for us to be on the other side. It's time for us. It is what it is, but it don't have to be. Peace, y'all. Love y'all. See y'all next Friday.
Like this.